I helped my girlfriend land a $90,000 fellowship. The same day she said, let's take a break. 3 weeks later, I got CC'd on an email she meant to forward. So I replied all, and let her new boss know who wrote her thesis. My name's Daniel, I'm 28, and I work as an academic editor for a small press that handles everything from theses to research journals. It's not glamorous, but I've always liked working behind the scenes, fixing structure, clarifying arguments, and helping other people sound like the best version of themselves. I never thought that skill would end up being the reason I lost my relationship. Lena and I had been together for almost 4 years. We met during undergrad, stayed close during our respective grad school paths, me in linguistics, her in public health. When we moved in together 2 years ago, it felt like we were building something real. Rent was high, but we split things evenly. She'd been juggling part-time work and a monstrous research load, and I'd taken on a few side clients to make sure we stayed afloat. We were a good team, or so I thought. Around mid-February, she started talking about this research fellowship. It wasn't just any grant. It was one of the most competitive in her field. Over $90,000 in funding, plus a placement with a global policy institute in D.C. It was, in her words, the rocket fuel my career needs. And when she said that, she looked at me like I should understand. Of course I did. I told her I'd help in any way I could. At first, it was just reviewing her personal statement, then the research proposal, then the full thesis chapter that would be attached as her writing sample. She'd written a version of it last year, but the structure was all over the place and her citations were a mess. I stayed up till 3 a.m. that week rewriting whole sections, cutting down redundancies, clarifying hypotheses. At some point I realized I wasn't just editing, I was ghostwriting. Is this okay? I asked one night as I was going over her results section. Rewriting a paragraph, she'd completely misinterpreted. You're better with words than I am, she said, not even looking up from her phone. Just make it sound smart, babe. I laughed a little, half flattered, half exhausted. I told myself it didn't matter whose hands were typing the thing. We were in this together. Her win would be our win. The week before the deadline, she broke down crying at 1 a.m. because she thought she'd never get it. I stayed up and wrote her a new opening statement from scratch. It took me 5 hours. When she read it in the morning, she said, "This is brilliant. This is exactly how I think, but clearer." Then she kissed me and went off to class like everything was fine. The day she submitted the application, she left me a bottle of whiskey and a thank you card on my desk. It said, "Couldn't have done this without you. Truly, love you always." I kept that card. Stupidly, I even stuck it in my notebook. For the next few weeks, we went back to our regular routine. Late nights, ramen, Netflix, her falling asleep with papers all over the bed. I didn't expect much to change until we got the results. And then one afternoon in early April, I walked into our apartment and found her on the couch, phone in hand, eyes wide. She looked up at me and said, "Daniel, I got it." It took me a second to realize what she meant. I just froze, holding a bag of groceries. She jumped off the couch and threw her arms around me. I got the fellowship. 90 grand. Full ride. DC placement. Everything. I laughed. I genuinely laughed. I spun her around, right there in our cramped living room, her laptop open on the table behind us. We opened a bottle of wine. We ordered takeout we couldn't afford. We celebrated. I felt proud. Genuinely proud. She didn't mention the card. She didn't mention the editing, or the weekends I'd spent reformatting citations, or the chapter I'd basically rewritten from scratch. And that was fine, I thought. I didn't need the credit. This was for us. Later that night, we were brushing our teeth, and she went quiet. I was telling some dumb story about a client of mine who couldn't stop using semicolons, and she just stared at herself in the mirror. Then she said it, softly, like she was testing the waters. "Daniel, I think we should take a break." I laughed. Like a fool. I genuinely thought she was joking. She wasn't. "I just feel like I need space to grow," she said. "This fellowship, it's a big step, and I think I need to do it alone." For me, I didn't say anything for a full 30 seconds. I just watched her cap her toothbrush like she hadn't just detonated our life. She kept going. "I've been feeling this way for a while. I didn't want to ruin the application, so I didn't say anything, but..." She trailed off. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I asked her if there was someone else. She swore there wasn't. She just needed space. She offered to sleep on the couch, but I didn't want to stay. I packed a bag that night and took an Uber to my brother's place across town. I left the wine glasses in the sink and the card she'd written me on the desk. She didn't text me for 3 days. At first, I didn't tell anyone. Not my brother, not my coworkers, not even my closest friend, Ethan. I just said Lena and I were taking space while she prepared for the transition to DC. I kept it neutral, clean. The truth felt too raw to share. The thing was, there were no big fights. No screaming, no plates flying. She didn't even raise her voice. She just checked out. One moment, we were dancing in the kitchen over takeout, laughing about the future. The next, I was sleeping on a lumpy futon in a room filled with unopened Amazon boxes and my brother's guitar collection. The silence was deafening. I gave her the benefit of the doubt for the first few days. I told myself she was overwhelmed, that the idea of moving for this fellowship, starting over in DC, maybe scared her more than she let on. But deep down, I was already starting to connect the dots. She got what she needed. Then she asked me to leave. I wanted to believe it was a coincidence. But when you've spent 4 years with someone, you start to know the difference between nervous distance and strategic silence. She wasn't unsure. She was done, and she just hadn't said it out loud yet. I didn't stalk her social media at first. I knew that would spiral fast. But curiosity isn't a gentle thing. It doesn't knock. It kicks the door down and laughs when you pretend you're fine. So on day 5, I checked her Instagram. Blocked. Facebook? Still connected, but her profile photo had changed. It was her, standing on a cliff somewhere. Sunlight, wind in her hair, arms outstretched like she'd just conquered a mountain. The caption said, "New season, new sky." The comments were all fire emojis and hearts. But one caught my eye. It was from someone named Nico T. "Glad we made it up there. You killed it." I clicked his profile. Public. A photographer. Oregon-based. Lots of hiking shots. A drone photo that looked eerily similar to the cliff Lena was standing on. Another photo, from 2 days ago, Lena again, sitting on a log by a fire pit, wrapped in a flannel that didn't belong to her, toasting a marshmallow. Caption: "Adventures are better with the right people." It was like watching someone take a chisel to your ribs. I wanted to believe it was innocent. Maybe a group trip. Maybe just a hike with mutual friends. But that word, right people, sat like a hook in my throat. I didn't reach out. What was I going to say? "Hey, I know you said you needed space, but I saw a picture of you wearing another guy's jacket, and now I'm spiraling into the kind of paranoia I used to mock in movies?" I sat with it. For days. Ate like crap. Barely worked. Ethan noticed something was off and tried to drag me out, but I kept making excuses. Then I got a text from Lena's sister, Sarah. "Hey, didn't want to make things weird, but I thought you and Lena were still together. She told Aunt Renata you guys split a month ago?" I stared at the message for a long time. A month? We were still splitting meals 2 weeks ago. Still planning her apartment search in DC. Still watching reruns of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and arguing about whether cereal was a soup. Now she was telling people we'd broken up before she even submitted the fellowship? I called her. Straight to voicemail. I left no message. The next day, she posted a story. A boomerang. Clinking glasses with Nico, downtown Portland bar. Her smile was full, unapologetic. No caption. I stared at my phone for a long time. I wasn't jealous exactly. Not in the way people assume. It wasn't about Nico. It wasn't even about Lena choosing someone else. It was that she'd stepped on me, quietly, politely, and walked away like I'd never been part of her story at all. The worst part? I still didn't hate her. I still had that card. Couldn't have done this without you. And some pathetic part of me clung to it like it was a contract. Like it proved something real had existed. I kept editing freelance work. Kept pretending I was fine. Until the email arrived. That was the moment things stopped being sad and started being surgical. It was a Tuesday morning when it happened. I was half awake, groggy from a bad night's sleep, trying to push through edits for a client whose idea of clarity was adding 5 footnotes per sentence. I barely noticed the new message ping in my inbox. Subject: Fellowship intro, need quick feedback. From Lena K. To Nico T. CC, Daniel G. My name in the CC field stopped me cold. I stared at it. My brain immediately assumed some other Daniel G., someone she worked with, maybe a tech guy. But no, it was my email. The one I only used for freelance and private correspondence. The one she and I used when she needed my help with thesis drafts. I opened it. "Hey babe, this is the version I'm about to send Dr. Voss. Just want your eyes on it one last time. Should I say more about the NGO angle? Let me know if I should tone it down. Also LOL at me scrubbing the dock of Daniel's fingerprints. Took forever. Think this sounds more like me now?" L. Below that was her draft cover letter. She hadn't meant to CC me. She'd meant to forward it. My name was in the thread because she was using a document I originally owned. And she clicked the wrong option. I sat still. My name, mentioned so casually, scrubbing the dock of Daniel's fingerprints, like I was dirt under her nails. I read the letter. Slowly. Every line. I didn't even need to compare it with the version I had on my laptop. I knew the structure. I recognized phrases I'd written in the middle of the night, pulling language from obscure policy journals. Even the phrasing of her project summary, it wasn't hers. It was mine. Not adapted. Not inspired by. Word for word. She'd taken the exact thesis draft I'd written for her and lightly edited the pronouns. I could see it in the rhythms. The transitions. A few clunky Lena-isms had been shoehorned in for flavor, but it was still my voice echoing through the bones of that document. And she was calling it hers. That alone made my stomach drop. But what really cracked something open inside me was that she'd joked about it. LOL at me scrubbing the doc. Like I was some half-forgotten watermark. A blemish to erase. I checked the document history. Sure enough, she had copied everything into a fresh Google Doc 2 weeks ago. The file name was Fellowship Final Draft, me only. I opened our old folder. Nothing had changed. The voice memo she sent me after her breakdown? Still there. Her text. Can you write the conclusion too? I'm losing steam. I opened it. Her voice, clear as anything. Hey, just send me whatever you come up with. I'll make it sound like me later. You know I trust your writing more than mine. You're the best. Seriously, I owe you so hard after this. I sat with it. Not angry yet. Just slow burning. There's a strange silence inside betrayal. It doesn't roar. It just echoes. I scrolled down to the bottom of her email thread. She'd also attached the thesis file, my file, with my original track changes still in the metadata. I don't think she even realized. That's when I saw the recipient, Dr. Miriam Voss, her new mentor, fellowship director, a respected name in international development. And I saw the line that confirmed everything. Attached is a writing sample from my thesis project, which I completed independently as part of my final year research. No mention of help. No mention of co-authorship. Not even a footnote. Independently, I could feel something shift inside me. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This wasn't just about her hiking off into sunsets with Nico and pretending our years together didn't exist. This was about theft. Not emotional. Intellectual. Professional. She'd taken my work, hours of it, weeks of it, and used it to buy her way into a program she told everyone she earned alone. And now she was presenting it to people who would build her future, all while pretending I was never part of it. I opened a new draft, sat with it, closed it again. I didn't want to rage. I didn't want to lash out. I wanted precision. So I reopened the thread. I didn't delete a word from her message. I didn't touch the attachments. I simply clicked reply all, and I started typing. Dear Dr. Voss, since I appear to have been included on this thread, I felt it appropriate to clarify a few things. The attached writing sample, while submitted under Ms. K's name, was authored and structured entirely by me over the course of 6 weeks, while Ms. K was completing lab field work. I have retained all original drafts, track changes, and collaborative voice memos. I am prepared to supply time-stamped metadata and drive logs confirming authorship upon request. Ms. K asked for my assistance to polish her final thesis section in early February. I ended up contributing the majority of the research synthesis and writing. She assured me it was only for personal understanding and feedback. I understand your program places a strong emphasis on academic integrity. I am available should you need any further clarification. No anger. No accusations. Just facts. I attached the memo. Her voice asking me to write the final chapter. I attached the version with my editing comments. The timestamps. All clean. I clicked send. Then I sat back and waited. Within 10 minutes, the thread updated. A short reply from Dr. Voss. Ms. K, we need to speak today. I've temporarily suspended your onboarding. Please bring documentation of authorship to our meeting. Daniel, thank you for your candor. And that was it. No grand applause. No flames. Just a quiet halt in momentum. A needle sliding off a record. Lena didn't respond. Nico didn't either. The thread went dead after that. I closed my laptop, set it down, and walked outside. The air tasted sharper. Lighter. I didn't feel better. Not yet. But for the first time in 3 weeks, I didn't feel erased. I didn't hear from Lena for 2 days. No calls. No texts. No angry emails demanding an explanation. Just silence. The kind that feels too clean, like someone had prepped for it. And maybe she had. I kept checking the thread, half expecting some kind of rebuttal, maybe a long justification, maybe a pathetic apology. But the inbox stayed still. The last message was still Dr. Voss's. Formal, measured, no warmth. And no illusions either. In that single sentence, Lena's onboarding was suspended. Not revoked. Not permanent. But suspended. A professional way of saying, we're investigating this now, and you're not moving forward until we've sorted out whose hands actually wrote what you submitted. That morning, I opened the Google Drive folder we used to share and saw that all permissions had been revoked. No more access. No more collaborator status. The files I had uploaded with my own name were locked behind a wall of, you no longer have permission to view this document. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was exactly the move I expected. She knew what she'd done, and now she was scrambling to cover it, hoping that removing my access would somehow rewrite the version of the truth she'd built. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have predicted, was that I'd already made copies of every document, every track change, Every voice memo, every email chain, every draft title that had her name and my comments attached to it. I hadn't done it with revenge in mind. I just kept them out of habit. Backup folders. It was muscle memory for me, a freelance editor who'd been burned once or twice by clients with bad memories and worse ethics. Still, I wasn't planning to take it further, unless she forced my hand. And the next night, she did. At 11:47 p.m., I got a text. One sentence. "What the hell is wrong with you?" That was it. No greeting. No explanation. Just that question. Cold and furious. I stared at it for a while, then set the phone down. At 12:03 a.m., she followed it with another. "You just blew up my career over something petty." Petty. Petty. That word cracked something in me. I thought about the nights I stayed up writing for her while she slept on the couch, deadlines breathing down my neck. I thought about the panic attacks she had in the kitchen, clutching my arm and begging me to help her fix the abstract because her brain was fried. I thought about the way she celebrated, barely acknowledging the work we'd done together, and how she kissed me that night and still decided I was disposable the next morning. I typed back slowly. "You submitted my work as your own and lied to your future boss. That isn't petty. That's fraud." The reply came instantly. "You gave me that work. You never said it was yours." Another message followed before I could even respond. "You didn't ask for credit. You didn't act like it was yours. You just helped me." I took a long breath and stared at the blinking cursor. She really believed that. Or maybe she needed to. She needed to believe that support was the same as surrender. That help meant ownership was gone. That love meant erasure. That just because I didn't insist on recognition, I didn't deserve it. And that was the moment I realized something that stuck with me. She never thought I'd stand up for myself. Not once. She knew I'd fix her thesis. She knew I'd keep her calm. She knew I'd pour hours into her future. But she never thought I'd have the spine to tell someone else the truth when it cost her something. That's the difference between love and use. Between partnership and manipulation. I let her sit with my last message. I didn't reply again. I didn't need to. The next day, Dr. Voss emailed me directly. "Daniel, I appreciate the materials you sent. I'd like to confirm, were you compensated in any way for your contribution to Ms. K's thesis or statement?" I responded truthfully. No. She was my partner at the time. I helped her in good faith, under the impression it was for her understanding and private reference. I never authorized its submission as independent work. She replied one last time. "Thank you. Your statement and documentation will be kept confidential but included in our internal review. If we need further clarification, we'll be in touch." That was the last I heard from the program. But a week later, Ethan messaged me a screenshot. It was a tweet, mutual friend of Lena's, someone who floated between our social circles. It said, "Yikes. When your whole fellowship gets postponed and your new job suddenly vanishes overnight, that's tough." No names. But the replies made it clear. Someone asked, "Is this about Lena K?" And another replied, "Heard her proposal wasn't actually her writing." Lena hadn't posted anything since the night of the new season cliff photo. Her Instagram was now set to private. Nico's page too. I wasn't smiling. This wasn't revenge. Not in the cartoonish, movie sense. It didn't feel good, exactly. But it did feel final. I told the truth. I'd stopped pretending I was okay being stepped over, passed over, used as a ladder, and then discarded when she reached the next rung. The fellowship might not have been revoked publicly. Maybe she spun a different story, blamed internal politics or miscommunication. But the truth had reached the one person who mattered in that context. And that was enough. 2 weeks later, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. It wasn't long. I never meant for it to go this far. I panicked. I was scared of not measuring up. But you didn't deserve any of it. You were always better than me. I'm sorry. L. There was no point replying. I folded it up and placed it in the same notebook where I'd once kept her thank you card. Not as a memento, as evidence. A quiet reminder. You don't owe your silence to someone just because you used to love them. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.